Well, at this point, I think it's safe to say that the 2023 Social Security COLA will be unlike any other we've had in history, and not just because of the amount. It is looking like right now this is going to be about the fourth largest COLA since 1975, at least, where these adjustments were automatically tied to changes in the inflation index. But what's different about this one is the confluence of the COLA and changes to Medicare Part B premiums. We could be moving into a time where we have a large cost of living increase to Social Security and a decrease to Medicare premiums. Now, I've already talked about this briefly in another video, but now I've taken the time to break this down so I can help you understand what's likely to happen and why this is going to happen. Be sure, though, stay tuned to the end, because I'm going to tell you how this could be a big surprise when 2024 premiums are announced. But before we get too far into this, I've got to thank my friends at Boomer Benefits for assistance on this. When the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid released this report about the 2023 Medicare premium, I wanted to make sure I wasn't reading something incorrectly, because this isn't being talked about very much. And Danielle, the owner of Boomer Benefits, was able to help me sort through this and break it down in a way that makes sense. So listen, if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel, you should, because they're really good at breaking things down and making it make sense in the Medicare world. So down below, I'll put a link where you can find their channel easily. So let me lay this out for you and explain what's going on. In 2021, the Part B Medicare premium was $148.50. For 2022, this increased up to $170.10. Now, this $21.60 change represents a 14.5% increase. Now, this was notable, but certainly not the largest increase we've had historically. But the reason for this increase was notable. When Part B premiums are set for the new year, they're based on forecast. And by law, this premium amount has to be 25% of the estimated cost that will be incurred by that part of the program. So when they were deciding on how much to charge for the new year, they determined that each person on average would use about $680 of services covered under Part B. Thus, the premium was set at 25% of this, or about $170. So this means that they thought each person would use about $88 more in services every month in 2022 than they did in 2021. Now, there's 56 million people covered by Part B, and when you do the simple math, you can see that they thought costs were going to increase by about $4.9 billion in 2022 over what it cost in 2021. Now, it may be easy to blame this on inflation, but when you consider that healthcare inflation in 2021 was way lower than the overall inflation rate, that just doesn't make sense. So why did we see such a big jump in Medicare premiums? Well, it was all due to the release of a super expensive drug called Aduhelm. This drug was the first of its kind, and it was proven to attack the underlying cause of Alzheimer's disease. Now, at first, the price on this drug was set to be $56,000. There was a lot of excitement for it, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid thought that a lot of people would get this treatment. So they priced the Part B premium for the new year based on the forecast of how many people would take Aduhelm. Now, after the premium had been set, the manufacturer got intense pushback for its price, and they dropped it in half. And in addition, the sales of the drug were pretty dismal. In the last 3 months of 2021, even with all the excitement and publicity, Aduhelm generated $1 million in sales. Now, sounds like a lot of money, but in the pharmaceutical world, that's nothing. I mean, just for reference, Biogen, the manufacturer, spent more than $480 million on marketing the drug in 2021 alone. Now, as a side note here, I have had a lot of people ask me why a drug increased the price of Part B when prescriptions are generally covered by Part D. Well, within Medicare, there are both Part B and Part D drugs, and Part B drugs are those administered by a doctor or in a clinical setting, usually something like an injectable drug. Part D drugs are what's known as the outpatient medications that someone takes on their own. So now we have a problem. Medicare Part B premiums were set based on the forecast of a lot of people taking the drug at $56,000 per person. And now the price was lower, and not near as many people were taking it as they had forecast. So this means that the forecasted premium for Part B Medicare was too high. By the time they figured this out, though, it was too late. The new premium had been set and had already started to be collected. But they can't overcharge for this by law, so they had to do something. They talked about a redetermination of the premium and lowering it mid-year. They talked about sending rebate checks out that would credit back the overpayments. But ultimately, they decided that those options weren't feasible for a number of reasons, and they finally decided on crediting back the overcharge in 2023 premiums. Now, there's still lots of details that aren't clear, but here's how it looks like this could play out. And let me lay this out for you. In 2021, the Part B premium was $148.50. For 2022, this increased to $170.10, a 14.5% increase. Now, we've already covered that, but it's important to go back over that again. Now, when the report came out from the Medicare actuaries, it found that after the price of Aduhelm was dropped and with the lower usage of the drug, the premium should have been $160.40 instead of $170.10. Now, this is an increase of $11.90 from the 2021 premium of $148.50, which represents an 8% increase. Effectively, they should have charged $160.40 instead of $170.10, so they overcharged by $9.70 per month. So let's work through some numbers here and let's do some forecasting of our own. We can't be much more wrong than Medicare was. So if we assume that without the erroneous information from Aduhelm, the Medicare premium should have increased by about 8%. So let's assume that the same inflation rate of 8% will apply to Medicare premiums in 2023. If you take what the premium was supposed to be, that $160.40, and add 8% to that, it gives you a premium increase of $12.80, which takes the premium to $173.20 that's possible for 2023. So that's $3.10 higher than this year's premium. But then you have to factor in the credit for the 2022 overpayment. If that's directly deducted from the premium and it still comes in at that $9 to $10 range, that brings the Part B premium down to $163.50. Now, I don't know if this scenario will work out like this. There's still a lot of variables that could change things. They could smooth it out and break the premium up over a few years, and they could do that for reasons I'll cover in just a moment. But I think it is likely to very possible that you could see a scenario where Medicare premiums go down in 2023. So how would this actually affect Social Security payments? Well, for the average Social Security benefit of $1,600, this would add an extra $6.60 to the monthly payment, so that works out to 0.4%. So if the COLA that's announced in October comes in at 8.5%, a $1,600 benefit would actually increase by 8.9%. Now, for someone with a $3,000 benefit, the increase would represent an additional 0.2%. So again, nothing massive for sure, but it's certainly better than getting a large COLA and then getting a large increase to Medicare premiums at the same time. But here's what's hiding in the weeds. Watch out for the premiums in 2024. If the overpaid premiums are refunded in 2023, that means that in 2024, you can see the inflation increase plus the increase from the credit amount expiring. This means that if the 2023 premium goes back to $163.50, to get the 2024 premium, you have to add back in the credit that no longer applies and then assume another year of increases. And if you use 8%, that puts you to $187 for the Part B premium in 2024. Now that gives the appearance of a $23.50 increase, or 14.3%. But some of that is artificial inflation because it's from the expiring credit. But you can bet for sure it's still going to sting because a lot of people will have forgotten about that credit dropping off. Hey, before you leave, be sure to check out this video next. In this video, I answer a very simple question. How much Social Security is taxable? Understanding how to do this calculation for yourself is critical if you're planning for or already living in retirement. Just click here and you'll go straight to it. Thanks for watching.